The same story. So what is happening with America? America is facing a serious problem. The dollar that is being sent outside America is increasing in circulation. And fundamental economics will tell you, anything more in circulation will lose its value. But there is a force again. Actually the law of nature is it should come down. But the central bankers are all trying to act like palanquin bearers, and they are holding the value. So it is a fight between nature and fight between man. And the fight between nature and man has never won. So one day or the other, suddenly dollar will go kapu. China will sell $100 billion. It has got $1.3 trillion worth in dollar, denominated in dollar. All that China has to do is to sell $100 of treasury bonds and ask America, please give me $100 billion. Already there is a dollar liquidity crisis today. $100 billion means Bush will die of heart attack. And Obama will not come to power. In the sense, he will say, you please continue for some more time. He will go on a holiday to Hawaii. So that is the severity of the problem, and Chinese are waiting for this. There is a US Security Commission report made by the US government to the US Congress on US-China relationship. There some of the authors, including some from the very knowledgeable think tank, Peterson Institute and others, they have said very categorically that, see, we are an independent nation. We pride on independence, and it is a fact that Americans pride on their independence. But the fact of the matter is that we have given our tuft to the Chinese. Whenever Chinese want, they will shake us. Whenever they don't want, they will drop us. But China has got a vested interest in supporting the dollar, as I told you. But the problem is Saudi Arabia has got huge amount of dollars. Iraq too has got. Venezuela has got. Some of these countries are not very happy with the way Americans function. Dr. Manmohan Singh may say Indians like President Bush. But Venezuelan people will not say that they like President Bush. And Venezuelan President Chavez has got something around $250 billion worth of reserve. $250 billion. It will be a mutually assured destruction. But you know, these are all communist regimes. They don't mind plucking one of their eyes if only they can pluck one of the other man's eyes. They will even pluck both their eyes to see somebody is half blind. This is the reason why economists now say that the Third World War will not be fought in the battlefields. It will be fought in the financial markets. Because today it's the currency valuation that determines commerce. But globalization requires global currency. Look at the catch-22 situation. You and I will not trade with each other. Unless you give me dollar, I don't believe any other currency. So you have to give me dollar. Meaning what? All of us will finally give that money back to America. But we all know America is sinking. And if we have to disconnect ourselves from the dollar, we have to stop global trade. So if global trade is stopped, only you can come out of global currency problem. And if global currency problem is solved, there is no global trade. Globalization has come to a grinding halt like the traffic jam in Bangalore streets. Nothing will move. So it has come to a log jam, complete log jam. So people don't know what to do. People are petrified as to what is that. So each one is doing something. So they are trying to put money after money after money into American economy, try to revive. You cannot give steroid to a dead body. And try to say that the dead body is wake up. Dead body is not wake up. It is dead and gone. When the American dollar was circulating in excess, and American dollar was being supported by the oil transactions, because you know oil is traded only in London and in New York, and it is denominated only in dollars, the crude oil. So Saddam Hussein knew about this paradigm. Saddam Hussein said, I will sell my oil for euro, yen, rupee, something, but not in dollar. Immediately the Americans charged him with weapons of mass destruction. And poor fellow was hanged on a Vaikunta Ekadashi day. Straight away he went to heaven at 4 o'clock in the morning. when Lord Vishnu opened the door, he said, Saddam Hussein coming. That is what Americans have achieved. Finally, they have issued this man goes to heaven. Yes, I don't understand. To me, they could have shown this charisma. They have done this to Saddam Hussein. Now, you don't find any weapons of mass destruction. They have ritually scanned Iraq for the last 5 years. They have not got a gram of weapons of mass destruction. A country which cannot manufacture scooter is supposed to manufacture atom bomb, then have a missile development technology which will cross 6,000, 8,000 kilometers and drop a bomb in America. Can't they even understand that this is stupid, plain stupid? And it was done only to protect the American currency. Never in the history of mankind has a currency been supported by an army as much as the US army supported the US currency. Take out the US army, US currency will fall. It is so much interlinked. That is why we say it is a global world. Everything is interlinked. What do they mean by that? Have you ever thought that Indian army will support the Indian rupee? Indian economy supports the Indian rupee. American economy does not support the American rupee. American dollars. American economy is not supporting the American dollar. It is the army that is supporting the US dollar. So daily they have to do something. A bomb in Venezuela, knock off some ruler in Nigeria, enter and put some bomb in Rwanda. Daily they have to flex their budget. Otherwise nobody will believe that American army is capable of doing something. So daily new technology, new things. Arms industry has become interlinked, intertwined, interdependent with the dollar. So dollar protection has become the sole objective of the Americans, and Americans are only doing the protection of the dollar, knowing very well that the world will supply goods to them. But in this mad calculation, there is one gentleman called Alan Greenspan. I'm sure you would have heard about his name. He was the former Federal Reserve Chairman. He said, he wrote a book, Age of Turbulence, which was published last year. He said that only these underdeveloped countries people save. Rich countries need not save. Rich countries only need to spend. Who will give you money? Money will come from any other place. It is a world without walls. It is money will flow. No problem for us. We only have to spend. Daily we will have to spend recklessly, spend big. Others will fund us. And 2005 November, Economist carried an article and said savings is sin. Savings is sin. Can you believe? Go and tell your mother. She will give you a huge slap. Savings is virtue, and it is transacted from one generation to another generation. My father builds a house not for me, but for my son, or perhaps for my grandson. And we keep the house in the same dilapidated condition and say, once upon a time my father lived there. Because that savings is generational. Their consumption is generational. They go on consuming. So Ben Bernanke went on to say that there is a savings glut in the world. Ben Bernanke is the current US Federal Reserve Chairman. He said there is a savings glut in the world. Meaning what? When prices of tomato will fall, when there is huge tomatoes, and you will find the tomatoes will be rolled into the streets, highways, and they per kilo for 1 week, 2 weeks, then it will go. Then they will say, this week, this month, this year, there was a tomato glut. Ben Bernanke says there is a savings glut, meaning you Asians are saving too much. You need not save too much. You should spend. There was an ancient Hindu philosopher. I am using the word philosopher in a very loose sense because he is not considered in the main 6 streams of Hindu philosophy. His name was Charuvaka. Charuvaka said what Greenspan said some 5,000 years back. He may not have said in English, but he said the same thing. He said spend and be happy. So people asked him, how will they get the money? He said borrow. span told to Americans, and Americans are doing at a global level. They are borrowing from others, spending, and living happily. Only thing, we are trying and doing so many things, night 4 o'clock, graveyard shift and others, to see that the Americans are happy. So this is going on and on and on, and it has reached a stage where it cannot go any further. So when you are into such compulsive consumption, you lose your sense that you force people to say, instead of one house, start buying 2 houses. 2 houses like 3. So what did you do? You ask some people who are a server in say McDonald's, salary is $1,500. You said take a loan for $150,000. He said, where do I get and pay the EMI? Don't pay the EMI. First 3 months, no EMI. Next 3 months, teaser rate, 0.5%. Then slowly we will up the slab, and it is ballooning. And by the time, if you are not able to sell the service the loan, don't worry. The property value is going up. We will sell it for 2 lakhs, settle everything. They even, the loan contract even allowed for jingle loans. Jingle loan means if you are not able to service the loan, put the keys in a cover, put that cover into the bank's office, put a calling bell, ting tong, they will come and collect the keys. House is surrendered. Like that, there are millions of people who have done this ting tong. So that has become the death knell of the American economy. So many loans have been accumulated, so much loans have been given, and what the banks have done, they have put their book entry and shown everything has been accrued, they have received. Auditors are very comfortable people. We auditors will, at least not Indian chartered accountants, but the American chartered accountants are the scoundrels of the first order. So they have signed every balance sheet, no problem. Even when he is sinking, 3 months back, when this Lehman Brothers got a wonderful certificate from one of the biggest chartered accounting firm, the public accounting firm. No problem. For a fee, they will do anything. Like Enron got it from Anderson, these people also got it from somebody, PricewaterhouseCoopers or something. No problem. So loans were taken, income was accrued in the books, and based on the income in the books, P's were being discounted in the market, and stock market was kept booming. Till the Titanic was going down, everybody said, no, everything is okay. Then where is Titanic? Sir, it is some 30 feet below water. Where is it? One, sir. No problem. Look at it. Such gargantuan fraud. SEC, Securities Exchange Commission. It is another humbug organization I have come across. It has told these banks, don't reveal the truth. Believe it or not, the US regulator has told these financial institutions, don't reveal the truth. If you reveal the truth, people will be afraid. So better think, keep quiet. Fudge your books. Adjust with your auditors. This was the advice given by SEC. And that is the model we are all following, corporate governance. Potato. We should shoot these people. But instead we are actually eulogizing these people. We are actually taking up this as the role model. We are saying, oh, America has got corporate governance, we should have a corporate governance. What corporate governance? Lehman Brothers. You will be surprised. The head of Lehman Brothers was one Richard Fuld. He resigned on 16th or 17th of September. Now, you must understand the US Federal Reserve System. US Federal Reserve System is one enigma, puzzle, a huge secret. 12 banks actually control the US Federal Reserve System. There is no federal about it. It is a private entity. The name is federal. That's all. It has got nothing to do with the US government. And the US Federal Reserve System is governed by 12 banks. One of the chief banks that controls the US Federal Reserve System is your New York Federal Reserve Bank. Believe it or not, Richard Fuld was the director in the New York Federal Reserve Bank. And US Federal Reserve Bank controls the US federal system. On interest rates, on various policies. Where is the Chinese wall? It is like asking Ambani to come and sit down on the SEBI board. It is like asking Tatas to sit on TRAI. Such shamelessness will not be exhibited anywhere in the world except in America, openly, brazenly, as a mark of the system. Yet we don't critique them. Have you ever heard about this Richard Feld? I do not know how many of these Merrill Lynch guys, these Wachovia guys, how many of these guys were sitting in how many of these banks? I did research only on one and I found to my horror this was that. I closed the chapter. Richard Feld sits on the New York Federal Reserve Bank, and New York Federal Reserve Bank is one of the 12 banks that controls the Federal Reserve System, and the Federal Reserve System is not the Federal System of America, it is the Federal Reserve System of the entire world, because the interest of there or interest right here goes on to impact the currencies, interest rates, whatnot, economies all across the world, no questions asked. So a critique cannot be there about the American system. We will also say, no sir, they are having corporate governance, we will have corporate governance. What is your corporate governance? Sir, we will have to ask Ambani how much shares he has. So we will put it. So we will say Ambani has got 55% shares. Sir, okay sir. How many board meetings he has attended? 12 board meetings. This is our corporate governance. We copy everything, lock, stock and barrel without applying our mind to what conditions they are there in the world and what conditions we have to adopt it in this country. I am not saying don't take anything from the outside world. What I am saying is please take something from the outside world after critiquing, after finding out whether it is suitable, whether it is good. If it is good, please take it. Otherwise, kick it. Today, you will be surprised. The US federal system, which talks about transparency, which talks about so much about all this ethical behavior, has stopped giving the M3 figures for the dollar. Since 28th March 2006, M3 figures are not provided. You know what is M3? This is the aggregate of dollar circulation in the world. It is like RBI telling, I will not give you the rupee circulation. Every week it gives you on Saturday morning. But since 28th March 2006, no M3 figures. It is like a finance company refusing to give the balance sheet. Once it refuses to give the balance sheet, you know its days are numbered. Or perhaps it is gone. But nobody says why you shouldn't publish it. Because the obvious reason is very obvious. That if US Federal System goes on to publish the M3 figures, you will be shocked, I will be shocked. So they are only protecting us in a way, by not giving us any shock. This is the extent to which global financial architecture has been perverted. But look at it. What is going to save us? The best thing that has happened to the world is the collapse of the American financial system. It may be a paradox. It may be a huge paradox that we have tied so much with the Americans that if the American goes down, it is sure that we will also go down. But to me, some of the figures that I will reveal now are startling. First, our savings rate is 35% of our GDP. Our investment rate is 37%. Meaning 97%, 96% of our capital requirement is provided by our domestic savings. Our FDI is 2 to 3%, maximum 4% of our GDP. But what the papers will tell you, they occupy 96% of the space. The trivia attracts the maximum comment. FDI, without FDI, India can live. Without FDI, China can live. Without FDI, America cannot live. This is the truth of the matter. We are giving money to America 2%, 3%. America is investing, America doesn't invest here, please understand. It is our own Hawala money that comes through as FDI. Till now we have not seen any big American investment in this country. America has got a rich country, we have got a poor country. Actually we are loaning money to America. The world, in the global economics, the rich and the poor is turned upside down. The giver is called poor, the taker is called rich. I don't know how. I don't know how these things are, you know. America is a rich country, it will have to provide us FDI. Where it has provided FDI? It has provided in Coke and Pepsi. This country can live without Coke and Pepsi. We will have less of stomach. There's no problem with Coke and Pepsi. If you want to drink, you drink. I have no issues about it. But Coke and Pepsi are not the determinant factor of FDI in this country. There is so much of money available in this country. If properly channeled, we suffer from, we have a different problem. problem of governance. That is all we will solve. But Americans cannot solve our governance issue. So, we require to understand one fundamental thing, that we don't have any problem with capital. If America collapses, no money is going to stop coming, because our own money will go to Mauritius, get whitewashed and come back as foreign direct investment, no problem. Our own production. We are not an export dependent economy as like the Chinese. Of course there will be a problem in Bangalore, in the sense it is the IT capital of the country, so it will have a problem, it will have some impact. But this is the time for Indians to get computerized. Look at our software. I am just giving you one software which all of us use. This is the railway ticket booking. Extraordinary. The persons who have devised it deserve at least Bharat Ratna, if not more. At least Bharat Ratna. You book a ticket in Madurai for a train between Delhi and say Chandigarh. You go to the bus, you go to the seat, on that day the ticket is there and the seat is there. But if you ask, why can't we take the same software and put it in say KSTC services and book the same buses? If you want to book a bus from Chennai between say Bangalore and Mangalore, you can't do it. The same logic of the bus, same software has to be picked by KSTC. KSTC will not do that. It will give a tender only to the ministers, relatives, some distant friends, company they will give, and they will collapse the book. So you will only click and it will go doomed there. Go on circulating. So what you have to do? You have to catch hold of that software, put a proper alignment into what it requires for the bus, and put it in. But we will not do this. This is an opportunity for Indian software to go Swadeshi. Software has to be taken to the Indian. I am only giving you one example. Most of our power that we produce is stolen. It is called transmission and distribution loss. People say theft and dacoity loss. 40% of our power, we are a power-starved nation and we lose 40% of our power very easily. We don't worry about it. And in some states like Bihar, I told it is 50%. And in states like Karnataka, I think it is around 30%. On an average, we lose around 30 to 40%. Use computer software to detect theft of power. We will not do. Our people will not touch. Software people have become very Brahminical. Only if it is American job, they will touch. Indian job, even if it is a premium job, they will not touch. Now, this is the time that you will have to do this. You will have to come to India to do this. In fact, I will close with a last part of my presentation, and I will take 10 minutes now to close, and I will explain to you how China is now thinking, how East Asia is thinking. Last year we had a draft of the 11th plan, which became, now we are in the 11th plan. This was presented by Dr. Manmohan, the Vantek Singh Nadwani. His contemporary in China, which also runs the 11th plan, is one market. I had the opportunity of reading both. Our first draft to the 11th plan was the 11th draft to the first plan. The same story. And if you read it, you would think that you have not done anything. India is a poor country, 70% infant mortality rate, so many children are dying before the age of 5, there is no school. Who stopped you from doing it? As if I have stopped Monta Singh Ahluwalia from doing all these things, he is writing this document. Anyhow, that is his problem. But Markai wrote a very extraordinary piece of economics in his 11th plan approach. He said, we are working, we are exporting, America is giving us money, we are happy with it. But how long will this run? We have to increase our domestic consumption. We will have to increase our domestic consumption. And if you look at the Krishnamurthy committee report, which talked about the competitiveness between India's manufacturing and the Chinese manufacturing, there was a difference of around 30%. But of which 15% was because of indirect taxes alone. If you manufacture something and sell something in India, what is called as 100 rupees will be 135 rupees by the time it reaches you, but in China it will be 115 rupees, only on the difference of indirect taxes. our indirect taxes are obnoxiously high. You have a SENVAT rate of 14%, you have a VAT rate of 12.5%, then you have so many other charges, octroi, etc., in so many places, you have electricity duty in so many places, all put together, we are paying some of the highest taxes in the world. We need to reduce it. Because India, mark my words, this is very important. India is not a savings economy when compared to China. India is not a consumption economy when compared to America. India is in the beautiful penumbra of a consumption and a savings economy. It is a self-balanced economy. If China has to depend on America for consumption, America has to depend on China on production. India need not do that. It may have to import oil, yes. Nothing more. It may have to import some technology. Nothing more. But India can export something. But you know, 10-15 years back, the call was export or perish. Today the slogan should change, export and perish. Because the whole paradigm has changed. What you will get? You will get tissue paper from America. What do you will do with the tissue paper? So you will have to think about the domestic market. So what do you have to do? You have to go and tell me one chamber of commerce ever has gone to the Prime Minister and said, we want drastic reduction in indirect taxes so that we can spur domestic consumption. In fact, today they are supposed to announce some fiscal measures. I don't know what they were announced. But if they are going to bring down indirect taxes, states bring down your duty or VAT rates, you will see a spur in consumption. A spur in consumption will lead to spur in manufacturing. A spur in manufacturing will lead to a spur in employment generation. A spur in employment generation will make globalization irrelevant. That, I think, is possible only because of one person in this country, that is the housewife who manages the house expenditure so dexterously. The lady in our house, our mothers, our sisters, wife, child, daughters, they manage the house so excellently that it is they who will balance between expenditure and saving so beautifully, so wonderfully. And that is why this country still has solvent families. Today you don't have an insolvent family here. There will be some exceptions, I fully agree. But by and large, it is the family that runs the national economy. Until the family is there, I have no two opinions that the economy will be in safe hands. We will have turbulent days, but we will not have bad days. So to me, American depression is an opportunity. An opportunity to reinvent yourself, to rejig yourself. This is a wonderful opportunity to decouple yourself from the world, decouple your dependency on the world, try to reinvent yourself, try to put your focus on 1 billion plus market, try to be focused because this is a self-balancing market. With this, I thank you all for a patient listening. Thank you very much.